Good evening and welcome to Information Please, your Peoria Public Library on the air, bring you information about your library and your community. And this evening my guest is David Haste, who's in charge of Peoria's city's streets and sewers. Hi David.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Well, it's not snowing, so you're here.
Yeah, right.
So I think everybody wants to know the burning question about what's going to happen when it snows this year. What's our snow plan?
Well, we have an 18 route system, and within those routes we have primary streets. And when we get a notice of snow or ice, we'll maintain those primary streets until they're good for travel towards the end of the event. And then if we have over 2 inches of snow or more, then we'll go into the residential streets and start plowing them. But regardless, we always start off with the primary streets because that's where we have the highest traffic volumes and the higher speeds. So we'll maintain them until they're good for travel.
Okay, and you have all those posted no parking, snow route things. How are those decided?
Well, we want to make sure that every citizen is within 2,500 feet of a primary street. And so that's kind of our goal when we decide which is going to be a primary street. They are posted, and when we issue a no parking ban, then that'll go into an effect and everybody will have to move off of those primary streets. There's
always somebody that doesn't move. What do you do about those folks?
And of course that happens, and we try to issue that notice as soon as we can and give people plenty of notice that we're gonna put that into effect. But there are people who don't move, and they may not get the message, and people who work different shifts, they may not get the opportunity to know that we're putting that in effect, and they will get a ticket. But I have noticed that the officers that go out, they will usually knock on the door and give somebody the chance to move their vehicle.
Oh, that's nice.
And that happens. Yeah. I have noticed that. I don't know if it happens throughout the city, but I have noticed that.
Yeah, because I run it at the library. Interestingly enough, people will ask me about hours or something, or they didn't know this, they didn't know that, and I'll go, well, it was on the news. Well, I don't watch the news. Well, it was in the paper. I don't read the paper. It's on the radio. I don't listen to the radio. You know, and there are a lot of people who really insulate themselves from public news. Yeah. And I'm sure those are the ones that are hard for me to reach, so I'm sure that's also.
And it is, and that's why we really are aware of the fact that people are working different shifts and they may not get the information. So we'll put it out several hours in advance, and hopefully we do make contact with everybody.
Yeah. Do you use Facebook or Twitter? Is there something somebody can follow?
We do. We have more than one source that we'll use.
Yeah, so many folks now are focused on Facebook or Twitter, and that's where they're getting their news that, oh no, I've got to move my car.
Sure, and that's one of the changes that we're aware of and we have made, because we have to change our system of getting information out.
It's interesting what's happened with media and the way we communicate. Yes. It really, really is. Really. And here you're going to be on YouTube with me. We've got some pictures. I'm not sure where this is, but this truck is just a single truck plowing. I don't know if there's anything particular to say about this. That looks like a pretty heavy snowfall.
Yeah, my guess is that this is a residential street, and we're plowing to the curb, and you can tell that there's snowpack in the center of the street, and that's common on residential streets, because the whole time when we're working primary streets and salting and plowing, and the residential streets are getting snowpacked. And a lot of times we'll get calls during a heavy snow situation, or anytime we have an accumulating snow, that we miss the street, because when citizens look out and they see the snowpack, they would say that we missed it, we didn't get it, or we didn't push down hard enough on the plow. We hear that quite a bit, but actually that snowpack that we can't bring up with the plow, those plows there are about anywhere from 2,400 to 2,700 pounds, and they'll actually ride right on top of that snowpack. So it really takes warming temperatures or just a lot of sun to break that bond, and the problem that we have is that when it's snowpack, if just for example, if that's 4 or 6 inches of snow and traffic drives over it, as soon as we have warming temperatures, that will fluff back up to 4 or 6 inches. So we have to go back and plow again in a lot of cases.
Yeah. So it sounds like you know a lot about snow. I didn't know snow would fluff back up.
Yeah.
Do you have to go to school to learn about snow?
No, you learn it the hard way, I think.
Learn it the hard way.
Yeah.
This, of course, is one of the things that, of course, I have to walk downtown from where I park, and it always seems like it's just such a nightmare walking. What's the plan in Peoria to get sidewalks cleared? Is that, I mean, you're working on streets. I don't know if sidewalks are part of streets or not.
Well, the property owner is responsible for the sidewalks, but in the downtown area, when we have heavy accumulation, we really have to clear the curb line and some of the sidewalk, especially around the meters. Yeah. And so that's kind of our responsibility. Any accumulating snow, we're always quick to get into the downtown area and clear off the quadrants, the areas right on the corner. So we're pretty good at doing that. But heavy accumulations will clear the downtown area.
Okay. And what do you do with all that snow? If we have a big snow, there's not a lot of places downtown or even some residential areas to pile snow up. So where does it go? We have
a couple of areas that we have on a kind of a list that we'll haul into, and it really depends on if it's paved or grassed areas, and depending on the surface temperature. If the ground is soft, well, then we can't haul in there. The trucks will get stuck. So it just depends on the weather and the time of year and the pavement.
So you've got lots of different plans. Plan A, B, C, right down to Plan Z, I bet.
Right. Yeah.
Yes, at the library, of course, we have a staff that gets out. We have our little plow, and so we try to make sure all of our patrons can get into the library safely, keep our sidewalks clear, keep the parking lot clear. So we have a lot of people who ride the bus to the library, and in bad weather they may choose to do that instead of driving.
Sure.
So that's one way to get around. Our bus routes, how do bus routes involve the snow plan?
We try to take those into consideration with all the main primary streets that we have, and we're constantly keeping those clear, and you may see us traveling those quite a bit, and we're putting down rock salt and chloride if we need to, but it's kind of a process that we need to go through with the primary streets. This is an example of that, putting salt down, and you can see it's kind of slushy, and that's the process. We need traffic on those streets to just keep things churned up, and we'll keep applying the rock salt. And the reason that we do that is because the dilution rate is with the snow coming down and the melting of the snow, it will actually dilute the salt. So we have to keep applying the salt. We'll keep plowing it off, and eventually the traffic will turn the street into just a liquid, just water. And then we're worried about any type of refreeze. So we're really hoping that we get enough traffic going to that the pavement will dry. And it'll be dry before the temperature drops. Usually after an event, we always have a pretty good drop in temperature. So we have to make sure those pavements are dry before we leave them.
Yeah. Too bad we don't have big fans we could turn on.
It would be nice, but the cars do a good job.
Yeah.
They help us quite a bit.
Well, that's good.
Yeah.
That's good. Once people get back out, of course.
Right.
This picture, I think, is fun because you've got this whole line of snowplows. And so what's going on here?
Well, that's a heavy accumulation, and what we do is when we have to move a lot of snow in a quick period of time, we'll get into a tandem formation, and we'll take the 18 routes, and we have an 8-route system that we'll go to. And we'll team trucks up. Depending on the width of the street and the locations of the routes, we'll go from anywhere from a 2-truck to a 4-truck formation. And there's 2 reasons for that. After a heavy accumulation, to move the snow quickly, because we want to open them up for traffic. Our main focus anytime we get into a heavy accumulation is emergency equipment and making sure that they can get around, and also a long duration. So we'll get in that formation if we know we're going to get a lot of snow over a long period of time, and we'll continue to cycle those streets. The trucks don't fuel at the same time. They don't do anything at the same time. We're constantly cycling those streets with as many trucks as we can, just to make sure those streets stay open.
Okay. How many snowplow trucks does the city of Peoria own, or do you rent them, or do you have private contractors?
We have 30 large trucks, 7 to 10 tons, and we have 12 one-ton trucks that go out on support. They don't all go out at one time. We have spares that we use. Any kind of a breakdown, we'll bring a truck in for any kind of repairs, and we'll switch the driver out with another truck, just so that we go back on route.
Are these trucks only used for snowplows, or are they used for other things?
No, we use them year-round. They haul from street sweepers, any kind of construction work that we're doing, but it's a truck it's specialized for municipal work, and especially
so
snow
you can
removal.
Use it for anything.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, and I don't know much about trucks, but I know there's people who are very interested in trucks.
Yeah.
What about the drivers? Where do you come up with this many drivers?
We actually hire temporary employees to come in and help us out during the winter, because when we start 12-hour shifts, we actually have to double up our workforce. So we have about 26 temporary employees that come in. This year we had, I believe we had 13 or 14 returning from last season. And the new employees, we put them in a 2-week training program. They learn everything about our routing, our mapping. We train them on loaders, the trucks. They do a lot of dry runs. That's a 2-week program. Our returning temporary employees, we bring in for about a week of some refresher courses and some training, and then we're ready for the season.
Okay. And so is there a place people can go, like on the web or the newspaper, or something that shows where your 18 routes are, so they know what has been plowed and when they maybe can expect their residential street?
We do have the map on our website. We do not have any live information as far as looking at that and seeing our trucks and equipment at work. But we do have the route and the map of the city.
So people can at least look at that and say, okay, they're going to plow these 18 routes, and then I'll know, you know, that'll be done as quickly as possible.
Yes.
And do you start like as soon as it starts snowing?
We start with the primary streets, and we usually try and get out in advance, because we like to put some material down in advance of any icing or snow, just to eliminate that bond on the pavement on the primary street. So we'll get out in advance, depending on the notice and how soon of a notice that we get. Sometimes some weather will move in pretty quick on us, and we don't have that opportunity, but we really try to get out there in advance.
Yeah. Well, and I know places up north always, when I talk about weather here, they just laugh, because places like Minneapolis or up in upstate New York, where the snow just keeps coming and doesn't melt till April, and they just get around like it's nothing. But I think people are equipped for that, and we're not so much here.
And that's exactly right, because we're only equipped for a certain amount of snow, and our average is only about 1.5 inches, 2 inches, and so when we get into some heavy snows, we have to be good and about bringing in additional resources and at the right time. And we've learned that over time, that we can't do it all. And the city was growing quite a bit at one time out north, and we needed additional resources out there to help out on the heavy snows especially.
Yeah. What was the last really dramatic snow event you remember?
2006 was, well, it was 2011 also. We had that blizzard, and I believe it was February, and that was, that turned out pretty good. We had all the resources to cover the streets that we needed, and that turned out pretty good.
And get them done.
Yeah.
Now, what happens with all of this? I can remember vaguely, and I couldn't even tell you when this was, one time when the city ran out of the salt or whatever you were putting down and couldn't buy any more. How do you figure out what to buy, and what do you do with all this stuff when you're not putting it on the street?
Well, and that's kind of a tough decision to make, because you actually have to buy the salt or order the salt kind of a year in advance. And so
like seed corn.
Yeah. And so 2 years ago we had a really mild winter, and also last winter we did. So we have plenty of salt on reserve, so we cut back on our orders now. But we never did run out. There was about maybe 4 or 5 years ago when we started the season with 2 really bad ice storms. And so we had to use a lot of material during that period of time, and we got low, but we didn't run out. We actually just to be on the safe side, we did buy 1,000 tons from Canada.
Oh.
And yeah, we had it brought down by rail, but we never did run out.
Well, that's good. I just had this, maybe it was talk about maybe we'll run out.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Right.
Is this a different sort of a plow, or?
No, that's the same, just a different
angle?
style of truck, yes.
Yeah, yeah. And doing a good job plowing downtown there.
Yeah.
Well, and you also, in addition to the streets, which in the summertime is a different deal, of course you get into spring after all of this, and then you've got the potholes. Do you deal with potholes too?
Yes, we do. And it's a lot of work to get those streets back in shape. But the freeze thaw, and especially the wet pavement, really takes a toll on the pavement over the winter. So we have a lot of repairs to make in the spring, and especially when the plants open back up again, the asphalt and concrete plants, and there's a lot of repairs to be made.
Oh yeah, getting all that done, because it always seems like that road work, stretches on forever.
Yeah.
And then what does your department take care of in the summer?
We do a lot of concrete, asphalt repairs. We try to, late winter, we try to do a lot of alley maintenance. We have a cycle of alley maintenance that we do. So we'll do that late winter, in the spring. Early spring, we'll get the street sweepers out, and there's a lot of debris to clean up from over the winter.
Oh, yeah.
Then we get into the construction part of it, the preparation for any surface treatments that we do, and then asphalt, concrete work, and then we're back into the fall and sweeping up the leaves, and then we get into the winter again.
Yeah. So it just repeats, and you never know what's going to come.
Yeah.
Yeah. What about sewers? Because that's the other thing you handle. And I was thinking about the flooding that we had in the spring of 2013, which, I've lived in Peoria my entire life, and everybody was so amazed by the flood, but I could remember, childhood floods with Sears underwater in the parking lots, and I have photos my father took of some of those floods. But what happens with our sewers? And what I remember when I was a child and we had floods, that rats would come up in our suburban yards because they'd get washed up in the sewers. And I don't know that anybody's particularly aware of rats and sewers in Peoria these days. I'm sure they're still around. But so what kind of impact did all that flooding have on our sewer system? Well,
we actually maintain a storm system, the storm water system.
Okay.
And Peoria Sanitary District maintains
the regular sewers.
Sanitary for us. But as far as the flooding, and you're right, Sears would always flood, and they would have to close down, and I remember that well. But that part of Water Street was elevated about 2-3 years ago.
Yeah.
So just to eliminate that flooding on Water Street. But the problem that we had on Water Street from Liberty over to State Street, basically.
Right.
It was just a lower area and older buildings, and the warehouse district, and so we had to build a wall to eliminate any kind of flooding affecting those buildings. And I think that's just an example of the city's commitment to that area.
Yeah.
So the only thing, the challenge at that time, the wall was we got a lot of support, a lot of help from contractors and volunteers to help out with that. Once the wall was up, we had to worry about any type of rain that would run down from Washington Street and all the side streets, and the water that would get in back of the walls through the storm system. We had all of that blocked off going out to the river to keep the water from coming up in back of the wall. But just
I remember seeing a pump down there pumping water out back over the wall.
Right.
Yeah.
We had several pumps there just in case. We didn't have any idea how bad the rains would be in that period of time, so we had plenty of pumps available to pump water.
Yeah, it was definitely an interesting event.
It was, yeah.
I guess that's the advantage of being older, where you've started to see it all now. So
yeah,
just,
right.
One more, not that amazing. Yeah. I was able to, of course, get out. In the old days, the library was able to build huge reservoirs of photographs because the Journal-Star would give the old photographs from the newspaper to the library. That doesn't happen anymore. Oh. So we always think, well, gee, what are people 100 years from now going to be able to see?
Right.
So I did go out and photograph a lot of the flooding and things that can be in the archives at the library for when people think that never happened before, they can find out that it did.
Good.
Yeah. What else does your department do? I mean, how do just individual citizens ever interact with your department?
They do, and we wish that they would do more of that, because we know that there's a lot of interest, a lot of questions that they may have about what we do and how we do it. So we open up to that always. But we do a lot of roadside trimming, vegetation, trees and shrubs, a lot of that, and during the summer.
Is that so that people can see the right of way, or
well, basically
traffic?
to get vehicles down the street, and we have to have plenty of clearance for taller vehicles, street sweepers, fire trucks, plows, and equipment. So that's an ongoing situation. A lot of tree trimming next to traffic signals, stop signs, street lights, and so we do that quite a bit.
Yeah, it seems like years ago there used to be a lot of signage and that type of thing that was blocked by vegetation, people's plantings that were overgrown, but I just haven't seen much of that in a long time, so you must be on top of it. Do people call up and report that, or do you have people who go out and look?
We both. We take a lot of requests in, but also we have a lot of vehicles on the street, so our guys are reporting any kind of site issue that they may have or they run across during the day, and we make requests out and take care of that. But also we maintain areas, and so we have trucks out, tree trimming trucks that will go into specific areas and check for any kind of a problem.
Okay, but you're not the ones that are whacking the trees into weird shapes around the power lines, though.
No, we're not. No.
So don't blame you for that.
No.
I do know people get upset when they come home in their trees.
It's very sensitive. It is.
Yeah, it is. They have a beautiful tree. But what I see downtown in the older parts of town, which I'm in all the time, see the big trucks go by, and you can see that the trees have been sort of trained to go around the trucks as they go under them. So at least you don't have to do that, because the trucks do it for you.
Yes. Also, I think it's important to mention that we beginning next year, we'll have a pretty significant tree planting program. Yeah, the budget was increased quite a bit for that reason. We remove a lot of hazardous trees and dying trees in the right of way, and we really haven't replaced them the way we should. And so for the next 2 years at least, we'll be replacing a lot of trees in the right-of-way.
Well, that'll be great.
Yes.
Any idea what you're planting? People who are interested in trees always want to know.
Well, we have a variety of trees that we'll put out for bid, and hopefully there'll be a lot of interest. Homeowners will take interest, and we should get that program started in the spring sometime.
Oh, that'll be nice. So then do you work at all with the park district when you're planning that kind of thing? Because of course the park district has their park district land with the trees, but sometimes your right-of-ways and that kind of thing may go hand in hand or be next to. So do you work with them at all when you're planning that kind of thing?
No, we don't. We'll put those out for bid, and we'll have a contractor, a tree contractor, come through, and we'll pretty much locate areas throughout the city where we have a lot of trees that are missing. We want to enhance areas. New sidewalk programs over the years will add trees that were taken out for some reason there and during the construction, but we'll pretty much put that out for bid and go through a contractor for that.
Yeah, it's amazing the difference it can have having trees in parking lots or along sidewalks and
oh, it is.
Of course at the library, at the main library downtown, we took out all the old trees and put in new ones, and we've had a few die and replaced them, and we went with you know, a different kind of planting out in the parking lots and around that's much more sustainable. I think that's one of the things too, is putting in the things that are sustainable. So
the benefits of having trees are just
amazing.
Amazing, it really is, and just the value that they add to a community is well worth planting trees.
Yeah. Well, David, we're out of time, so thank you so much for taking time to come and talk to me, and I hope you get to just keep saving up all your salt, and we don't have to see 4 trucks removing 15 inches of snow.
Right. Well, I appreciate it.
Yeah. There's so many events going on at Peoria Public Library. You want to make sure and check our website at peoriapubliclibrary.org. If you have a new e-reader or a new tablet and are trying to download books, remember that you can come down to Main Library any Wednesday afternoon and either take a class or just make an appointment for when it's convenient to you. Somebody will sit with you one-on-one and show you how you can download those books to that new device. So we'll see you next week on Information Please.